In this example, we're asked to find a sketch for the curve shown where y equal, in between brackets, x minus 2, close bracket, cubed. So first we'll start by equating the equation to 0. So we have x minus 2 cubed and then equate it to 0. So first we'll try to solve this equation by finding the value of x. So in this scenario we would have x when x minus 2 cubed equal 0, so that will give us x being 2, because we take the cubic root of both sides and then we move the 2 to the other side. So we know it crosses the x-axis at one point, so say crosses x-axis at 2 and 0, and also we will try to find the point where it crosses the y-axis. So we take when x is equal to 0, y will be x minus 2 cubed, so that will be 0 minus 2 cubed, so that will give us minus 2 cubed. So in this scenario that will be minus 8. So crosses y-axis at 0 and minus 8. So these are the points where it crosses the x-axis and the y-axis, and we will have the range in terms of x values. As it moves towards positive infinity, y also will move towards positive infinity values, and we would also have, when x moves towards negative infinity, we would have y also moving towards negative infinity in terms of the values. Now in terms of the points and where it crosses the x and the y axis, we will have a point of 2 and 0, and this is the point of 2 and 0 on the x-axis, and on the y-axis we will have the point of minus 0 and minus 8, and this is the 0 and minus 8. And this is our answer for sketching the curve and finding the points where it crosses the x and the y-axis. In this example, we are asked to sketch the equation for y equal, in the first bracket, x minus 1, and the second bracket being x squared plus x plus 2. So first we will equate the equation to 0. So we will have y equal x minus 1 x squared plus x plus 2 equal 0. So the first bracket will be x will remain as x minus 1, and then we'll try to simplify the second bracket, and we cannot solve this bracket using the quadratic completing the square, so we can use the discriminant. So in this scenario we use we know a here will be 1, and b will be 1, and c will be 1, so we use b squared minus 4ac equal 0, so that will give us in this scenario 1 squared minus 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 1 and by 2, and in this scenario it will give us minus 7. So in terms of the points where it crosses the x-axis, we would have x minus 1 equal to 0, and because it's negative we cannot use this term. Use x squared plus x plus 2. And in terms of the x values, we'll have only one x value, so that will be x equal 1. Now in terms of we can also find the point in terms of finding the point where it crosses the x-axis. So it crosses x-axis at the point of 1 and 0. And now we're trying to find the point where it crosses the y-axis. So when x equal 0, we would have y equal, so it is x minus 1 multiplied by x squared plus x plus 2. So that will give us minus 1, and we would have also 0 squared plus 0 plus 2. So in this scenario we would have values of minus 1 multiplied by 2, so it will give us minus 2. So the point y axis at 0 and minus 2. So this is our point where it crosses the y-axis, and in terms of the x values, as they move towards infinity, we would have also y moving towards positive infinity, and also when it comes to x values moving towards negative infinity, we would have the y values also moving towards negative infinity. In terms of the points where it crosses the x and y axis, we can plot them as shown. So it will be, for the x axis, it will be 1 and 0, and for the y axis, it will be the minus 2 and 0. And these are our points where it crosses the x and the y axis. In this example, we are asked to sketch the curve for the equation shown, which is y equal, in between brackets, x minus 1 squared, all squared, multiplied by x plus 1. So first we will start by equating the equation to 0. So we will have y equal x minus 1 squared multiplied by x plus 1, and then we would have x minus 1 squared with x plus 1 equal 0, and then we will try to find the point. So first we will equate the x minus 1 squared to 0, so that will give us 1 squared to 0, so that will give us x equal 1, and also when we equate x plus 1 to 0, that will give us x equal minus 1. And in terms of finding the points where it crosses x-axis, so we will have points cross x-axis. We would have 1 and 0. We would also have minus 1 and 0. So these are the points where it crosses the x-axis. And when x equal 0, we would have y being 0 minus 1 squared and multiplied by 0 plus 1. So in this scenario, we would have the y being minus 1 squared, so that would give us 1, and multiplied by 1, so that would give us, in terms of the value of y being 1. So point cross y axis, it will be 0 and 1. And in terms of the range of values, as the points increase, so we will have x, when x moves towards infinity, we would have y also moves towards infinity, and we would also have, when x moves towards negative infinity, we would have y move towards negative infinity too. And these are our kind of ranges for x and y. And in terms of the graph, and when we sketch it, and this is how it would look. So we would have the 1 and minus 1, which is here, and we have where it crosses the x-axis, and for minus 1 and 1 would look here, and we also have the point where it crosses the y-axis, which is the 1 and 0, and these are all points where it crosses the x and y axis. In this example, we need to find the sketch for the curve, which is y equal x cubed minus 2x squared minus 3x. So first we'll equate the equation to 0 and we'll try to simplify it. So we will have first y equal x cubed minus 2x squared minus 3x, and that will be equated to 0. So first we can take a common factor, so that was the x, which is x here, so that will give us x squared minus 2x minus 3 equal to 0, and then we can complete the square for the quadratic equation, so that will give us x. In terms of the brackets, we will have x minus 3, and the second bracket, it will be x plus 1. So here we can see that we will have 3 points where they cross the x-axis. So the first one will be x equal to 0. The second will be x, when x is minus 3 equated to 0, so we'll have x equal 3. And when x is plus 1 equal to 0, we would have x equal minus 1. So points cross x axis, we would have 0 and 0, and we would have also 3 and 0. We would also have, in terms of the third point, will be minus 1 and 0. So we have 3 points where it crosses the x-axis, and since we have these 3 points, we can plot them. Now we will also find where it crosses them, and since it crosses the origin, that means it crosses also the y-axis, but we can also prove that if we want to. So we can say when x is equal to 0, that means y equal 0 cubed minus 2 multiplied by 0 squared minus 3 multiplied by 0. So you can see all the terms are multiplied by 0, so that will give us 0, and then that proves to us that both also the point cross y-axis is 0 and 0. And this is the scenario where it crosses the origin. So now in terms of the ranges, we would have when x moves towards infinity, we would also have y moves towards positive infinity, and when we have the x values move towards negative infinity in terms of values, we would have also y moving towards negative infinity. And this is the range that we would have. And in terms of the points and where it crosses the x-axis and the y-axis, this is how it would look like. So we would have the point of 0, 0, which is the origin where it crosses the x and the y-axis, and we have the point of 3 and 0, and we also have the point of minus 1 and 0, and these are the points where it crosses the x and the y-axis.